All right. I think it's working now. I think I figured out my problem. If you guys can hear and see me, give me a yes in the comments. I see yes, hear music, yes. Jeez. Holy hell. I hit go and the thing was like, no, I don't think so. It'd be nice to go, but I think the answer is no. Hopefully you guys are doing all right. It is a Tuesday evening. This topic of this live stream is going to be they won't do easy. Live stream number 44 of the year. Wow. Just running into problems. That's what happens whenever you rush from work and you're trying to set all this stuff up and everything. All right, I see comments that says it's working and we're good. And you guys can hear the music and stuff, so I figured out how to do that too. So, on that. Holy crap. All right, I see things. What does the bottom of your the bottom of my shirt says, here, let me move this. Everyone is a photographer until you put it to manual. I know that's a little less professional than I normally do, but I was kind of running a little short on time, so hopefully you don't mind. Oh, dear God. Okay, so let me move some stuff around. And let me shut this off before it starts playing on me. Yeah, so sorry about that. I hit live and I started everything up, and then I'm like, it gave me an error, and I'm like, well, that's weird. Well, I had to hit start on another location at the same time. It's really weird. So anyways, holy crap. Let me bring up my notes, if I can. There it is. So I can see that, even though it's in the wrong place for me. Welcome to the show. Welcome to a Tuesday. Hopefully things have been going well for you. I see we have a few people in the thing. I forgot to send an email out, so I forgot about that. But if you want to get notified in the future, make sure you sign up for the newsletter over at dadsurvivingdivorce.com. Just look for the dialogue. Actually, I might be able to. You know what? I might as well see if I can show you guys. And you just scroll on down over here and just put in your information there. And when I'm not running super late, I can add that in there. Hey, what do you think of the little circle on the bottom? Well, I can't really point because I'm in it. So I'll be like pointing out of it, of the little thing. I'm trying out, or I'm using new software. This is the same stuff I used the other day when I did the live stream with Alex. So this actually allows me to bring people in. So we'll have to play around with that more. The idea at some point is to bring guests in, but haven't got to that point yet. Well, I mean, obviously I did it with Alex, but what I mean is even having people dial in. I don't know exactly how I'm going to be able to pull that off because I would need someone to kind of screen the call, gear it up, and then kind of put them in so we could bring them online. So I'm not sure how I would do that. I would need another person. So not sure how that one's going to play out. Okay, so that worked on that. Let me bring this up. If my normal disclaimers, I am not a therapist. I'm an individual much like you who has gone through this traumatic experience, but I've come up with some tips and techniques that I share with you to hopefully get your life back, get things under control, keep the narcissist at bay, and take back control of your life. And if that sounds like something that would be interesting to you, then hit the subscribe button, ring the bell notification so you don't miss a thing. All right. Holy crap. Okay, so it looks like everything's stable. Looks like I can continue on. I'm going to look and see who we have here a little bit as we're waiting for some more other people to join in. Probably, like I said, I tried to schedule this. The scheduling didn't work right. So all the stuff that I was trying to do I wasn't able to do. It's like at work, people just wouldn't leave me alone. It was kind of funny. We got a handful of people here tonight, and which is great. I'm going to see on this. If you guys have any questions during it, just I would go ahead and tag me, even though I'm using this. Here's where I'm at. Let me show you this. I'm going to try to do this. I tried to do this the other day, and I don't think it. Whoops, let me get in the right thing. So the way this is working, recording? No, options, live demo mode. Okay. So yes, turn on live demo mode. So if you can see the screen, this is what I have going on. So I have my little window that has me where you can see me and, oh, well, my camera's in autofocus. Well, that could be a problem. And then there's all this stuff right here to where I can see my audio and the different scenes. Here's my preview for the screen that I can share with you guys, some overlays. And then this is the chat thing. And then I have a whole nother screen that has another chat to give me kind of a backup, which is a little bit faster in case I miss anything. So that is what I'm dealing with now. That's kind of the configuration that I'm trying out to see if I can get things working a little bit better. And so if you want to tag me, just do, the reason I was showing that is because whenever you tag me in that one screen I was showing you, it doesn't actually do anything, which is kind of annoying. But I do have on another screen this other window open. Anyways, I know you guys don't care about the technical stuff. Just trying to tell you what I'm dealing with. All right. I was having a coaching call the other day. And one of the topics that came up, which is that the title of this video is they won't do easy. And I'm sure most of you guys out there can probably appreciate the thought that, holy crap, this would be so much easier if it wasn't so damn complicated. If they would just decide to stop trying to make things as difficult as possible, as complicated as possible. And the sad reality is that they can't comprehend that. They can't make that step. We can look at it and go, geez, if we could just stop all the silliness and all the stupid games and all the blame shifting and smear campaigns and everything, you could co-parent, you could cooperate, you could deal with the person in a decent way. I know for me, that used to drive me nuts. I would think about it often that if it would just stop, it would be so much easier to be able to share information. And if someone misses a book, fine. You get them the book, from school or whatever the heck the thing is. But they won't do it. They will burn the damn house to the ground to prove a point, to make sure they're right, to do all that kind of stuff. And you can't reason with them. If you sit there and you try to say, look, let's just come to a meeting of the minds. Let's just, an impasse. Let's just agree to disagree and let's move on and try to calm things down. They won't do it. And typically even if they will pause for a moment, think about things, whatever, they'll act, they may act apart for a little while, but then they'll revert right back to that same type of behavior, that same provoking, eye-poking, boop, stuff that they just can't stop. So here's the issue with this. It's like, okay, well, that's just wonderful, Duane. So what do you do with that? Well, the thing is one, you have to accept the reality of what we're dealing with. And I know that's really tough. I mean, I know I spent a significant amount of time myself frustrated, irritated, just hoping that things could change. They could be better, that we could share information, that we could, tolerate each other's company momentarily to get to let things just work out. And unfortunately, it just doesn't work out that way. And then what you have to do is accept it. Accepting that that's what it is. There's nothing you can do about it, and just let it go. And I know I hate to use the words "let it go" or say that, because I know people tell us that all the time. You just need to let it go. You gotta do this. You gotta do that. But I'm telling you, in this situation, you will beat yourself up. You will drive yourself crazy if you continue to go down that path and try to rationalize it. Problem is you're going to put it in the context of the way you would think, of the way a normal person would think. And a normal person would get sick and tired of the chaos. I'm here to tell you, after 8 years, pushing 9, it's the same thing. This crap never ends when you're dealing with a toxic person. And if I hadn't changed, I would still be sitting there rolling in the mud with my ex, trying to, trying to push a brick wall and make it move, and not wondering, why won't this wall move? I'm doing everything in my power to try to make this move, but it won't. Let me try again. Maybe this time, maybe this 5,000th time will work. The reality is, it's just an exercise in frustration. And I know how tough that is. I mean, I realize, and when I was talking to this person, I know exactly where they were because I remember feeling the exact same thing. I remember struggling with the exact same thing. I remember just being tormented on the fact of just asking myself, why? Why does it have to be like this? And it's because they cannot move past that. They have to, and here's the reality. And this is the main thing to remember. They cannot look at themselves. They cannot have that, that look, introspection, if I'm saying that right, introspective, to look at themselves and acknowledge anything. It's too much. It's like, I'm trying to think of an analogy, but I mean, it's like if there's something that you're scared of looking into or scared of doing and you just refuse to do it because you just can't deal with it, it's along the same lines. That's not really a great example, but that's the problem. So you can try to reason with them, but see, if you guys can come to an understanding, then what to them, what does that mean about their story? They're no longer the victim. How did they get here? They can't let go of that. It's really tough. I mean, it's incredibly sick, and it's just damaging to everyone involved. So let me look at some of the comments we have here. See, I think I saw somebody tag me. Encouragement Bible Study says, how not to care what people think so much. See, that's another really, I wonder if I can, hold on. See, I should be able, I'm trying to figure out a better way that I can actually see, because see, I can post this over here. It says, how not to care when people think so much. It's because you have to let it go. I mean, you have to realize there's nothing you're going to be able to do to change someone else's mind. That was another thing that came up in the conversation during this coaching call. And the key on that is, if you sit there and you try to defend yourself or you try to convince these people to think something different, when I say these people, I'm not talking about the narcissists. I'm talking about the flying monkeys, the surrogates, the people who are under their spell. You won't get anywhere. You're gonna basically come across almost as a crazy person trying to convince them of what reality is. You ultimately have to let people figure out the reality on their own. Let's see, Scott had a thing. Oh, this is good. So Scott says, I introduced a friend to some of your discussions. She just sent me a clip from the Labyrinth where the girl tells the Goblin King, "You have no power over me." And I know it's a little off topic on this, but that is a really key point, that you ultimately realize that you're giving power to the flying monkeys, the surrogates, to the narcissist. And when you decide that you're done playing the game, they literally don't have any power over you emotionally. Now, that's a lot easier said than done, because I was having a conversation with somebody earlier today talking about another issue with this, where they're using the system, they're using the family court system to, have some power and have some control. But still, we get to choose, you get to choose how you're going to emotionally react to it. And the discussion I was having on that particular topic is, what is, absolutely get, whenever somebody takes their finger and they poke it right in your eye, you have that visceral reaction where you want to fight back. You just don't want to give up. You don't want to just roll over or feel like you're just letting them walk all over you. The reality is, though, is you really have to think about the context of it, the cost emotionally to you, the cost financially to you, and then make a decision on what is really the appropriate action. There have been things I've talked about in the past where I fought because I was just angry, and it ultimately cost me financially and emotionally, then it wasn't really worth it. Whereas if I would have just looked at it and said, does it really affect me? No. Is it going to impact my relationship with my kids? No. Then what's the point? Why engage with it? Why dip my toe? Why dip your toe into the cesspool? Or going back to the Labyrinth, if you guys have seen that movie, the bog of eternal stench. If you dip your toe into it, you will smell like the bog of eternal stench for the rest of your days. And it's along the same, actually, that's a really good analogy now that I think about it. It's along the same lines. You get into the point that you have to decide, is it worth it? Is it worth it to engage on this? And all of this ties together. I mean, if we come back to the topic of they can't do easy, or they won't do easy, it's along the same lines. And what I will tell you, at least this was my perspective on this, or this is how it worked with me. Let me scroll down. I'm missing some of the comments. Is she made everything so damn complicated that whenever she would every once in a while decide, oh, I'm going to be good about this thing, and it's like, oh, hell no. You don't get to be a raving lunatic for months or years, and then now you wake up one day and you decide now you want to pretend to be nice. Oh, hell no. And the thing with that, though, is you get into the point where you're going through this back and forth. Once you start phasing out your interactions with them, going no contact or hybrid no contact, you can really mitigate the impact that they have on your life and what you allow to have happen and what you engage with. This is a good question. Lenny and Evans Cooking, well, that sounds like a cool channel, says, Duane, why do the courts allow this? Well, in my opinion, not as being a non-attorney, but just my observations of this, the problem with family court is they don't look at this as if somebody's disordered. They think it's just two people who were basically in a business arrangement who now cannot not get along, and there's a couple of issues that they're trying to get over. They're trying to fight on. So all we have to do is just placate them a little bit, and they ultimately will decide to be good parents, good people, and this stuff will stop. The family court system doesn't look at it that one person can basically be a disordered, mentally unstable person and the other person a target. They don't generally see it that way. So what ends up happening is that the disordered person, the person that's getting their supply from just the chaos, even if they're losing, they're winning in their mind because of the interaction. So the family court systems enable it. Until we get to the point, in my mind, where family court fundamentally changes the way it looks. Presumptive 50-50, I think, is really important. And what I mean is getting to a point to where there's not a lot of stuff that you can really argue about, right? Think the conflict on this is typically the disordered person, and it isn't always the mom and it isn't always the dad, it can be either or, gets control of the money and the kids primarily. The other person is paying typically out the wazoo to support, to pay for their attorney, the other attorney, and all their money's gone. And they're stuck in a situation where they're fighting for access to their kids and even their money. For instance, I'll tell you, Lenny, what happened with in my situation is I finally got to the point where we agreed, without going to court, without going to trial, for 50-50 custody. And I'm like, oh, thank God. Thank God. Let's just, and I was thinking, oh, good. Let's just frickin' pause this. Let's change the child support and the alimony, and we can ride this divorce out for years. I don't care, right? I mean, it's like, that at least gives me some breathing room. And you know what the answer back from them was? Nope. We're not signing crap until everything is finished. Let me back up. We're not agreeing to change child support and alimony, even though you now have 50-50 custody. F you, Mr. Duane. You're going to continue to pay as if she has full custody, and it doesn't matter that you're having to do childcare and summer camp. We don't care. You will have to agree to all of our terms before we finally agree to that. It's a system that's set up to to abuse somebody, or it's a system set up to enable an abusive person to abuse their target. Getting back to what I was talking about, in my opinion, of family court, if it could change, for instance, if I had gone into court and, the initial thing is like, well, I've decided that you're a scumbag and you shouldn't be around your kids towards me. And if the court would have went, and I'm thinking, okay, 50-50 is what we're going to get. If I would have walked into my initial hearing, and if they would have said, there's no evidence that he's a scumbag, meaning me, and I wasn't saying she was a scumbag, but even let's say I was saying that. Let's say I'm like, she's a scumbag too. And if the court just said 50-50, dunk, well, at that stage, I don't need to pay a lot of money in attorney fees. I don't need to be running back to court for a lot of stuff. I have my kids. The money is what it is. I'm basically done. And then it would involve the disordered person to, and it can, keep pulling up court actions and trying to do stuff, but then they're doing it, right? Then you're already in the best, or you're in the best deal that you're going to get. And then it's kind of a status quo thing, and the likelihood it's going to change is low. Now, I realize that a lot of people on this may disagree with my opinion on that, but I think that would change a lot of things, and in that situation, if one person is like, oh, hell no, I don't want the kids, I'm moving out of state. You can have them. I got a life to live. I'm going to party. I'm going to do whatever. Great. If the presumption is 50-50 and one person says, I don't want it, fine. That's fine. And if that ever happens and you're dealing with a disorder person and they give you that and you're like, you son of a beepity beepity beep, you need to be a part of your kid. Just say, okay, Bill, okay, Susie, whoever it is. All right, sign right here. Enjoy your time. Bye-bye. I know that's easier for me to say now, and I talked to multiple people over the years where that thought of doing that, they're so angry that the other parent is not being a parent and are neglecting and rejecting their own kid that it just infuriates them. Let me see. I'm going to look at some of the comments. Golden says, Duane, if legal aid don't want to pay for the court battle, I will lose because she wants me to have nothing. Okay, Golden, if you cannot get an attorney, and my understanding, unless you live in a certain area, the likelihood that you're going to get anyone to help pay for your court in family court is as close to zero as much, then you have to do, I would recommend you do pro se. And if you're going, and if you are not familiar with, here, let me, see if I can pull this up. I got to click the right button. So I should have this. If you come over to YouTube and you type in the proper person, you will come up with Alex Falcone's channel. He provides a lot of information about going pro se and court procedures. There is also Command the Courtroom, which is Wendy Hernandez. And she's an attorney out of Arizona, I think Phoenix. And she has a channel that talks a lot about the actual, same thing, procedures of court, but from an attorney's perspective. So I would encourage you to look at both of those. And you might just have to go Golden pro se, represent yourself to make things happen. Hold on, this out of focus thing is getting annoying. Stand by one. I think I'm still out of focus. God. Let's see. Can I just poke my face? Oh, dead microphone. Okay. Now maybe I'm in focus. Jesus, that was annoying. Sorry about that, guys. So I don't know. Let me know what you think about that, Golden. Let me scroll down. Lyle says, what did he say? Lyle says, family court is overloaded. There are no different than the couple just before you. The problem with our court system in general. Yeah, that is absolutely true. And they're just herding people through and don't have enough time to look at what's going on. All right, let's see. I'm scrolling down on the thing. And if you guys have any questions on that topic of they just won't do easy, add comments on that. All right. Paula says, DSD, do you think the best thing is no contact with narcissistic family of origin, flying monkeys, etc., etc.? If you're dealing with toxic people, no contact is always your best course of action. Now, if you still have to maintain some contact with your family, then go as low as you possibly can. And the thing is, as soon as you start recognizing that people are toxic to you or for you, you have to start phasing them out of your life, because all you're doing otherwise is just driving yourself crazy. So yeah, I think in my opinion, no contact, even with family. Whenever you finally made that determination that you know what they are, that you strongly suspect that they're toxic, or you know it, or they even have a diagnosed disorder, you really have to ultimately decide what you want to allow in your life. And allowing toxic garbage in your life is never good. And it's a hard thing to get to the point to where you can do that with a family member. If that person is your brother or your mother, your father, it's hard. And you'll have people who will give you grief most of the time saying, how can you do that to your mom? You need to just let go. You need to do, blah, 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 all the other crap that people say. The main priority we have to have in our lives is our own mental stability and sanity. It's the same scenario as if you're on a plane. Well, the scenario, or the example I use is like if you're on a plane, whenever you go through the safety check on it, the first thing they tell you is in the event of an emergency and the oxygen mask falls, put the oxygen mask on yourself and tighten the little rope and then attend to other people. If you can't get yourself under control or in a good place, you are no good for anyone else. You can't help yourself, and you can't help anyone else around you. So in my mind, making sure that your environment is as stable and sane as possible is your number one priority. I would say that's even if you have children, that's even your number one priority over the kids, because if you're focusing all your attention on the kids and you're not taking care of yourself, you will torpedo yourself with the kids. But that's just my opinion. If you guys agree with that, give me a yes in the comments. And I'm going to scroll down here and see what people are saying. See, I've realized now that when I'm doing this with another person while they're talking, I'm able to look. So that makes things a little bit easier. Matt says, Duane, finally, wife finally called the police on me. They left with nothing. Went to the lawyer today, said I have a good chance at custodial parent. See, here's the other thing that's really important. If you have somebody that's playing those type of games and you're able to maintain, your calmness and professionalism and, just being a good person, and they don't find anything out, this ultimately starts backfiring on the person. There's been a few people on here who have had the same type of scenario where one parent calls CPS on the other, thinking, I'm going to get you and stress you out and make you jump through all these hoops. And ultimately what happens is because they generally look at both things, it backfires. And what Matt was talking about right there is what happens sometimes is that the court can go, okay, all right, well, looks like mom's being, bad, and forget it. We're just going to change the custodial parent, or we'll put it to 50-50, or we'll do something different. So yeah, you asked me what I thought about your situation. I think, it sucks you're going through it, but if all of this stuff ultimately bubbles up into the point to where you're ultimately victorious, it sucks, but at least you are prevailing in it. Okay, so Brittany says, how not to lose yourself when you're trying your best to please everyone. Okay, well, pleasing everyone, Brittany, is basically being a people pleaser and potentially codependent. So you have to be really careful about that, because if you're trying to please everyone, you're setting yourself up for disaster. And if you're in the mode where, and this is basically codependent, if you're in the mode to where you need other people to validate you and you can't self-validate, then you're positioning yourself to be a target of abusive and narcissistic people, and to just kind of lather, rinse, and repeat on the abuse. So I would say, when your first question is how not to lose yourself when trying your best to please everyone, is you change the focus in trying to make you the best person you can be, surrounding yourself with quality people, and then doing things that for other people that don't disrespect you or your boundaries to do it. I mean, people like to do nice things for people, right? But you can't lose yourself in trying to please everyone else. It is a dangerous game. It's what gets a lot of us into these messes, because we basically are focused on trying to make people like us or make people, validate us, and we let them walk all over us. And this happens to men and women. So this just isn't a gender thing. It's anybody who is in that mode will do that. All right, let me see what else. It's hard to read the comments and go. See, this is where I need my mood music. God, I can't even say it. Mood music. So Lyle says, it's amazing how my ex's family can sign off on what she did. Truly amazed by that. Blood is blood, And this goes two ways, right? I mean, and I saw the same thing. I had some of my ex-in-laws, or my in-laws at the time, who said they were going to support me, but when it ultimately came down to it, they're like, you know what, man, sorry. She's my sister. She's family. I can't. I mean, I know you're right, but I can't do this. The other flip side to this is what sometimes happens is you'll go through something, and then later they'll come back and go, oh, I'm so sorry that I didn't I now realize that it was a lie. And it's like, and it's just like, wow, too little, too late. So, all right. Okay, let's see. Matt says, lawyer said my records of time spent with and caring for my son together with my wife's terrible relationship with our entire family, I could get custody. I have texts and recordings of her keeping, what else did you say? Keeping son from me. Yeah. And that's the thing. You just slowly and methodically go through it. If you guys haven't seen, let me see if I can pull, well, I won't pull up the whole thing. I did an interview, no, not this podcast. This one right here, the interview with Cordell and Cordell Law Firm 2 years ago. Oh, I didn't realize that had 18,000 views. That's cool. He talks about how to focus on patterns of behavior and the specifics of what happened, not emotionally, how to document it with not adding your little notes, not being colorful and the SOB or the crazy winch, blah, 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 did yada, yada. Just focus on the details, and that can really help your case. And if you guys watched the live stream I did, where is it? The live stream I did with Alex the other day, we talked a little bit about that. We talked about how to approach the family court system and the judges and all that stuff to make your message cogent, succinct, and get it documented in a way that focuses or leads the evaluators and the judge down a path to demonstrate what you're trying to say, and then back it up with the appropriate evidence. It's tough to do, though, because we get so emotional on it, and sometimes we're our own worst enemies. Okay, so did that go? No, it didn't go. So Lenny says, DSD, if your child blocks you and mom doesn't support your relationship with your child, do you just give up, wait for the child to come around at 14 years old? Okay, no. You have to try to force the issue. And there's a few caveats on what I'm getting ready to say. One is you have to be prepared for the fight. If, in other words, what I mean is, okay, so like, let's say that's my situation. I would head right back to court and say, the court order says I see my kids on these days. Mom is not allowing it. And as long as your kids are young enough, most of the time a court is going to say, hey mom, little Johnny doesn't, a little 7-year-old, 9-year-old, whatever, does not get to make adult decisions. You will force them to go, right? And do that. The problem with waiting, if you're not having any time with your kid, Lenny, the indoctrination is just going to build and it's going to build and it's going to build. Now, the flip side to this, what I will say, and let me see if I can find this. Okay, I didn't do a video with him. Let me do it this way. That didn't work. I did a podcast with John Steinbeck. So I'm on my YouTube, on my website. I just went into the search bar, typed John Steinbeck. He is the host and runs the site Brainwashing Children. He talked about a very similar situation that he had with his son. First, he was fighting in family court to get more time with his son, and family court did not help him. He is a pilot, so his schedule moves around a lot. So he was saying, hey, I want this provision that's typically for pilots. Can I have this? The judge in Texas where he was doing this, if I remember correctly, said, no, it's, you get the third weekend of every month. And if you're not there, you don't get it. Cause he was saying, hey, look, sometimes I have to work, and I have other weekends off. Can I see my kid then? And they said, no. And mom wouldn't allow it. So he got stuck with the time he could get, and his relationship with his son started degrading around the 14 year. It's weird how it's always around the 14-year mark, if I remember correctly. And ultimately what happened is he was able to back off seeing his son, but still maintain some connection, not with guilt, but just, hey, I'm thinking about you, buddy, that type of thing. And after a period of time, his son wanted to start seeing him again. Check that out, Lenny, this podcast right here. And I think you'll get a lot of, I think that will go a lot with what you're talking about. John doesn't seem to be as active on his YouTube channel and his Facebook group as much. And I get it, right? I mean, his son is 18. He's done with child support. I think he's done with alimony. He's got a great relationship with his kids, and they're going and doing stuff. So, I mean, once your life starts moving on, it's tough to keep focused on like doing channels like this and stuff because you want to do other things, but he still has a lot of great information. The last time I spoke to him, he was actually even talking about doing some courses and stuff. But I'm not sure what's happening with that, but I would check out the information he has because he's got a lot of good information on there. Oh, neat. Okay. Golden says, I have a lawyer, but legal aid pays for him. I have a learning disability, so I'm scared if all the legal aid only pays so much. Hey, if you're getting legal aid and they're covering some of it, then you might be okay. And, Golden, just keep things as simple as possible. I mean, I don't know the specifics of your learning disability, but as long as you don't make the mistakes, as long as you don't take the bait that your ex may set for you, and you just keep things as calm and stable as possible and demonstrate that even with all the chaos, you're still able to focus on what you need to, then you have a better chance for success. It's whenever we start making mistakes that things really start getting screwy. All right, let me scroll down a little bit. Ooh, this is a good one too. So Paula, it's not a question, but Paula says, I went no contact, but isolated too much because I was repeating patterns. That is really important, right? I mean, all of this stuff ties in together in a bunch of different ways, right? If you don't do everything, you're not setting yourself up for success. The problem is you can't do everything at once. Okay. Now, hopefully what I'll see Paula say farther on is that went no contact, get yourself stabilized. Then you get into a point where you're like, holy crap, I'm repeating these patterns. I need to do something. And then you're able to work on that. They all build on each other. And then that's where you really start getting your successes. Oh, you're in Canada. Okay. See, Lau says, felons get to see their children and I don't. See, and you bring up a great point, and I think it's one of those things that it's really irritating. and I know that irritating doesn't even do justice to this when people are targets of this, is people don't look at the fact that kids, hate a parent. Kids don't hate parents. Parents that are abusive, parents that are felons, still get to see their kids. I mean, unless there's court order that says they can't. But, it's one of those things where, and another parent will still be like, hey, that's still your dad or that's still your mom. You need, you're going to have, that's still part of your blood, and they encourage it. A toxic, narcissistic person won't. And they'll manipulate a child to where they hate the other parent, or they force the child to at least say those things out of their own self-preservation. And unfortunately, most people don't see it. Even family and friends, they look at it and go, oh, well, little Susie doesn't want to see dad. Man, he must be a jerk. He must have done something wrong. I mean, how often do you think someone says to the other parent, why doesn't little Susie get to see, mom or dad? That's weird, and then really deep dive into it. They'll say, they'll either say that the person, they'll orchestrate it to where the person can't be involved, and then say, oh, well, the dad just doesn't ever come around, leaving out the part that, you've destroyed their life. You've got a permanent restraining order, and, they can't even send a Christmas card without going to jail, right? I mean, that type of thing. They can really manipulate the story. All right. Okay. It's too quiet. Earlier when I was here trying to get ready for everything, the neighbor was playing basketball in the backyard, and I thought something was banging against my house. It was like, what in the world is that? This is interesting. Kuni Mom says, laughing, my ex sent me an email telling me he's going for full custody and they are on his side. I said, thank you for your email. To be honest, I wouldn't even have done that, but that's fine. And the reason I picked this is because they will pull up this type of stuff and just say, oh, I'm doing this and I'm going to get it. And, it's partly just to get control and to get you to think about them and to get you scared and just to mess with you, just to see if they can still control your emotions and your reactions. But that's good, Kootenai's mom, that you were able just to, not be scared about it. Because I've gotten a lot of comments from people before that are in that situation and are like, oh my God, he says he's gonna take full custody, or he's gonna stop paying, or she's gonna do this or that. And it's like, for the most part, unless you've done something really dumb, it's not going to happen. And Kootenai's mom says, no one called me from CPS today, and I don't think they will. No, they might. He might try to do something like that, but it's a fear tactic. It's most of the time something's happened, right? Either you've asked for something. Actually, normally what happens in that particular mode, in that scenario, the typical scenario would be, you asked for something, right? You're like, hey, I know you got a promotion. I haven't asked for child support increase in 5 years. Let's do that. And then boom, I'm going for full custody. You're an unfit mother. This isn't working. You're abusive. You're and it's just this nightmare scenario. Actually, I'm really surprised. Something must have happened. I mean, because normally the only other thing might be, the other thing that's typical is and I was talking to someone about this the other day, if they think that you're moving on and they have zero, they're like, oh my God, they're getting away. They'll do stuff like that just to be like, hey, don't forget me. Remember me? Remember how I can make your life a living hell? I'm here, There's another person I was talking to earlier today about that. And sometimes it's tough to figure out what in the world they're looking for, and Kootenai moms, what do you think why do you think that what's the catalyst? What do you think switched that out of the blue? He's sending you emails saying he's going for full custody. I'd be curious to hear that, because there's always a story with that most of the time. Let's see. All right, I'm looking through the comments. Okay, so Brittany says, how to not I guess, be how to not be so nice. You have to, Brittany, you have to set up your own boundaries. You have to, it's like it's the power of no, right? And it could be as something as simple as, let's say, okay, I can think of a scenario like this. Someone says, "Hey, can you watch my kids on Thursday night? I have to go someplace." And you normally say yes, but you don't want to. Don't do something that you don't want to do. And I would say start out with small things. If someone's like, "Hey, can you do this for me?" And just say, "Oh, I can't. I'm sorry." You could say, "I have other plans," or whatever. You don't just have to say no. You don't have to be totally abrupt, but start establishing boundaries for yourself so that you're not just letting everyone take you for granted. And the sad reality is whenever you bend over backwards for people, they have no respect for you. They just assume that you're going to do it, and then whenever you say no, they're like, "Oh, how dare you say no? There was that one time I brought you iced tea, and now you won't paint my house for me?" Some stupid thing like that. Okay. Mood music kicks. Thanks, Matt. I appreciate that. I'll put this up on the screen. The problem is when I put music in the stream, a lot of times people are like, "Turn that off. I hate it." So I don't. Though I could. I could. Let me see. Which one is this one? Ooh, Moody. I have a Moody song. What does this do? I don't even know if that's playing. Okay, I'm going to let that go. To calm things down a little bit. To take it down a notch as I look through the comments. That's my ASMR voice. All right. John says, "How about some Rush Caresses of Steel?" No, because they would demonetize and copyright claim my video, and then take my channel. Actually, it's true. I mean, they'll freaking be bad about that. All right. Kuni Mom says, "He's just trying to push my..." Well, I'm going to post this on the screen because I can. So he's just trying to push my buttons, and I didn't respond to his allegations. He is evil. Yeah. It could be something as simple as, "Oh my God," honestly, it could be that he found out you're doing better. It found out that you had your first date, that you're doing, you got a new job, something. It could just be that, "Oh my God, you're getting away. How dare you?" I'm going to post this one. Our brand says, "X's mom is just a narc as she is. We are renting out her house. She put an eviction notice to get only me out of the house, claiming she didn't know I was there." Yeah, that's they'll do crazy stuff like that. And honestly, if you and your ex are having problem, your ex's mom, we were renting her house. I mean, I wonder at what point, it could just be that you guys are breaking up. So she's like, "Well, it's my house, so I'm evicting you." I don't even, but at that stage, it's better to get away from that stuff anyways. Okay, so I'm scrolling down. Okay, I'm going to turn this down a little bit. Paula says, "Duane, how did you do to have a healthy relationship?" Okay, here's the reality in my situation. I did what I tell you guys not to do on a couple different levels. The first one is I didn't actually deal with all the emotional trauma. I was basically no contact, wasn't interacting with the ex. She was leaving me alone because she was, high on money and, feeling victorious. And I put everything in a box. I'm like, "Man, I'm feeling great." And I was feeling great. I wasn't stressed anymore. I had gone through the part where I was feeling like, "Oh my God, I'm going to be alone forever. There's nobody good out there." And what happened is I had made my peace, hadn't dealt with the trauma, but I had made my peace. I was feeling better. I was getting excited about life again. I didn't care about dating. I was like, "You know what? when it's ready, when the time is right for me to meet somebody, I will meet somebody. And it'll happen when it happens, and it'll happen how it happens. And a month later, it happened. I met Debbie, who we've been together for a little over 5 years now. The problem is that, so we started dating, Debbie and I started dating, and it's a good, it's a good relationship. She respects my boundaries. She's supportive. She doesn't put me down. She doesn't do the subtle put downs and all the crap that I had dealt with my entire life. The problem is there's a two-point problem with this. The first was a good one, because she's like, when I would say things like preemptively, it's like, hey, I want you to try this, but I know you're probably not going to like it, or hey, taste this. I made this, but whatever. And I would always say, but you're probably not going to like it. I would do this preemptive thing so that whenever she put me down, when in my mind, and I didn't realize I was doing it, that when she would put it down, I'd be like, oh, I already kind of preempted that, right? I already said, well, you're probably not going to like it anyways, right? But what happened is she was like, why do you keep doing that? I'm like, why do I keep doing what? Why do you keep assuming I'm not going to like things? Why do you keep assuming that, I'm going to be disappointed with what you're doing? Why do you do that? And I was like, holy crap, I didn't realize it. Well, the reason I was doing that is because I hadn't dealt with those issues. And I was subconsciously trying to protect myself from repeating the patterns. So that's good. So that part's good. I started doing better with her, and our relationship was getting better. Here's the mistake that I made. First one is I didn't deal with the traumas. The second one is I finally, after a few 3 or 6 months, I think it was 3 months, introduced the kids to Debbie, and it went to holy hell crap. Ex turned me into child support services, that I was a deadbeat dad, not paying child support. And she started trying to turn the kids, triangulate the kids against her. At the same time, I had the IRS crawling up my behind about taxes and stuff, and threatening honestly, it was pretty scary, because at the time I felt if the IRS does what they're planning on doing, it's game over. It's checkmate. I've lost. There's no way out of this. I'm screwed, because at that stage of my life, all my backup plans were gone. I had no financial. I was financially devastated. I had no access to money or assets or anything, and I'd lose my job if they did stuff like that anyway. So it was just catastrophic, and that then coupled with Debbie treating me well, just screwed with my head, because it's like, why I couldn't understand it. It's like my entire life I've had people treating me like crap. Now this person out of the blue is, and I don't mean it wasn't codependent, like, clingy. It was stuff like when I was having emotional breakdowns during this, where she would be like, hey, you know what? I'm going to go to the movie, because I'm not going to sit here by myself. Love for you to come. If you don't, that's fine. That's okay. So it wasn't like guilt. It wasn't like, well, I'm going to go to a movie. I'm not going to ruin my night because of that. It wasn't that. It was and that honestly, it made it harder for me, because it's like what I expected was, why are you being such a piece of crap? Why are you doing that? Why can't you just get over it? Why can't you just come and have a nice time? Why, and that's what I expected, and she didn't do it. So how did I have a healthy relationship? In a lot of ways, it was luck, and part of the other thing is I did have my red flags. And if Debbie would have exhibited any of the patterns of behavior that my ex exhibited, I would have been done with the relationship. So Paula, let me know if that answered your question, or if I kind of went completely south on that one. Let me scroll back down on the comments. And then I think we're going to have to wrap this up. See, if I wrap this up within the next 60 seconds, it won't take forever to replay. So let me scroll down and see what else I've missed, and then we'll go ahead and try to wrap this up. Because I'm actually feeling a little weird. I think I need to take a break. All right, I'm going to post this one. Our brand says, Duane, how is it that a judge orders 12 hours of anger management to both parents and that's all? Yet the dad loses all custody and sole legal. I can't find no case law on appeals that are similar. Well, what you need to do is find the case law that says he shouldn't have done it, that the basis of the decision was wrong, and then appeal it. I see that you say you talked to your attorney. The problem is a lot of attorneys don't want to do appeals, so you need to force it if you have the money, or you need to do it yourself. Again, I would recommend that you go check out Alex Falcone's channel, The Proper Person, which I don't have up in my thing anymore, because he has a lot of information on appeals, and he's been very successful on that, our brand. So, all right, I'm trying. Man, I'm behind on comments, guys. I apologize for that. Okay. All right. Man, I did miss a lot of comments. I apologize, guys. I'm like way behind. Oh, this is a good question. G2011 says, how long do you think is a good amount of time to wait before introducing your new partner to the kids? Love your show, Duane. Thank you. Okay. This is what I would say on that. If you are in a situation, okay, see, there's a lot of caveats to it. I would say wait as long as you possibly can, right? If you have primary custody and, well, okay, let me just say this. Let's say you have 80-20. You have the kids all the time and you have every other weekend where you have alone. See your friend on the weekend, not around the kids. Spend at least 6 months dating before you introduce them to the kids. I did 3, should have waited 6. And you also need to fully expect a shit show whenever the ex finds out that you have somebody that you're introducing to the kids. And this goes for guys or girls, right? I mean, so just be prepared for that. And think about what you're actually intending to do. One, none of us should be thinking about getting married really quick after being in a narcissistic, abusive relationship. We owe it to ourselves to spend time getting to really know somebody before we choose to marry and move in with them. The second thing is waiting as long as you possibly can so you minimize the thing with the kids. Because here's the thing. Your kids, especially on the early part of this, are still struggling. They feel insecure. So, I mean, this is easier when you have 50-50 custody, or if you're on the opposite side of this, if you're the every other weekend person, like let's say you get the 20%, I would wait a long time because you have so much time to date and do stuff with your significant other or the person you're dating when the kids aren't around that you don't need to do it. I see the complexity whenever you're with, you have your kids almost all the time. And I can guarantee if your ex finds out that you're dating whenever he has or they have the kids, there's a pretty good chance that they're going to have to work. They're going to have to, I got called out on a TDY. I have to go on a business trip. There's an emergency at work or whatever. I can't watch little Johnny. You have to. So take as much, I would wait as long as you possibly can. But that's my opinion. So you posted that twice. So I got that. Okay, on that, guys, I think I'm going to wrap this up. Thanks for bearing with me with the little technical difficulties at the beginning. Now I got to figure out how to shut this thing off since I couldn't start it correctly. I probably won't end it correctly. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please hit that subscribe button, ring the bell notification, select all so that you get notified of everything that is going on. Don't forget to sign up for the newsletter over at dadsurvivingdivorce.com. You can, not that button, this button right here. Go to the main website, and there's a dialogue on the right. I do have a podcast. You can get to that from that site from there. If you need some one-on-one coaching and you want to work with me directly, you can do that through the website. Just click on the coaching link and schedule a time. On that, guys, remember, they are never going to work with you. They will not make things easy. They're going to want to take their finger and go boop in your eye when they can, how often they can. and just, take your life back. Like the person who was talking about the video I did before on the Labyrinth with the girl saying to the Goblin King, you have no power over me. We ultimately have more power than we think. And on that, have a good night, and I will catch you on the next video. Take care.